The year is 1968. The setting is Hartford, Connecticut. A nursing student named Donna is given a Raggedy Ann doll as a birthday gift from her mother. Not porcelain, not cracked, not sinister listening, just a soft, red yarn hair Raggedy Ann doll, the kind that you'd win at a fair or buy in a toy shop. Donna shares the small apartment with another nurse, Angie. They're young, busy, practical. The doll sits on Donna's bed as a decoration. At first, it's nothing. But then small things start happening. The doll changes position. They'd leave it sitting upright on the bed. They would come home and it would be laying face down, or seated differently, or placed in another room entirely. Now, here's where things get interesting. It wasn't dramatic at first. It wasn't spinning its head around or speaking in a gravelly voice. It was subtle. Small positional shifts. But over time, those shifts became harder to dismiss. The doll would be left on Donna's bed and later would be found on the couch. Arms crossed, legs positioned differently. Sometimes standing upright against a wall, something that a floppy cloth doll really shouldn't be able to do on its own. And then came the notes. Small pieces of parchment paper started appearing around the apartment. Handwritten messages. Help us. Help Lou. Neither Donna nor Angie owned parchment paper. They didn't recognize the handwriting. The notes weren't there when they had left for work, but when they would come back, they would be there. And that's when things shifted from weird to disturbing. Feeling unsettled, the two women contacted a medium. The psychic conducted a seance in the apartment and told them something that, if you're in your early 20s and open-minded, might actually sound somewhat comforting. The medium claimed that the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a little girl named Annabelle Higgins. According to the story, Annabelle was 7 years old and had died on the property years earlier when it was still open fields. The spirit, they were told, felt safe with Donna and Angie. She didn't mean them any harm. She just wanted love. And here's the critical moment in this story. The medium said Annabelle was asking permission to stay, and the girls agreed. Now, this is important later because Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren would claim this moment as the turning point, and we'll get into those guys in a little bit. Because in their worldview, permission matters a lot. Going back to the note, there was a friend of theirs named Lou. Lou didn't like the doll from the beginning. He reportedly had told Donna that something about it just felt wrong. And according to the case files later documented by the Warrens, Lou began having wild nightmares. He described one where he woke up and was unable to move. Sleep paralysis maybe, but in this version, Annabelle was at his feet. He said that the doll began slowly crawling up his body, up his legs, across his chest, until it reached his neck. And then it began to strangle him. He said that he woke up gasping, convinced that he was about ready to die. Another incident reportedly happened while Lou and Angie were alone in the apartment. They heard rustling noises coming from Donna's room. When Lou entered to investigate, he claimed that the room was empty, except for the doll laying face down on the floor. As he approached it, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. When he pulled up his shirt, there were like 7 claw mark scratches across his torso, 3 vertical and 4 horizontal. According to the story, they appeared fresh and then seemingly vanished within 2 days. Now, whether you believe that or not, that's the account that was given. And this is the moment when the woman contacted the Warrens. By 1968, Ed and Lorraine Warren were already building reputations in paranormal circles. Ed Warren described himself as a self-taught demonologist, whereas Lorraine claimed to be a clairvoyant and a medium. They had founded what would become known as the New England Society for Psychic Research in 1952. They traveled case to case, investigating hauntings, possessions, and alleged demonic infestations. The Annabelle case became one of their early defining stories. When they arrived at the apartment, they did not agree with the psychic's assessment. They said that the doll was not inhabited by a little girl's spirit. Instead, they claimed that it was being manipulated by an inhumane demonic entity. In their explanation, demons don't possess objects. They attach to them. They use them. And they create emotional manipulation, like pretending to be a child in order to gain trust. The Warrens believe that the entity's ultimate goal was to possess a human host. According to their account, the spirit story was just a tactic. Step 1, appear harmless. Step 2, gain empathy. Step 3, escalate. Ed performed what he described as a minor exorcism or as a blessing of the apartment. Then they removed the doll. And here's another famous part of this story. On the drive home, Ed claimed that the car's brakes failed repeatedly. The steering malfunctioned. The engine stalled. He said that the disturbances stopped after Ed sprinkled holy water on the doll. Now again, that's the Warrens' version of the events. The doll, once it arrived back at the Warrens, was placed inside of a wooden and glass case in the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. The sign on the case famously reads, "Warning, positively do not open." The Warrens claimed that priests regularly blessed the doll. They also claimed several incidents involving visitors. A priest who had mocked the doll allegedly died in a car accident shortly after leaving. A young couple who banged on the glass and challenged the doll were reportedly involved in a fatal motorcycle crash on the car ride home. Visitors reported dizziness, panic attacks, and overwhelming dread whenever visiting the doll. Now, none of these incidents were actually independently verified through public documentation, but it became part of the legend. And over time, Annabelle became one of the most famous haunted objects in the world. Now, here's what we know and what we don't know. This is just the grounded truth. There are no police reports publicly available confirming the scratches, said by Lou. There's no medical records. There's no verified documentations of an Annabelle Higgins as a child who had reportedly died on that property. The entire narrative comes primarily from the Warrens' testimony and later interviews. Skeptics argue that the movement could have just been a misplacement or memory distortion, simply just moving the doll and forgetting you did it, and notes that many of these could have just been fabricated. The scratches could have been self-inflicted or caused by environmental factors. The sleep paralysis explains Lou's choking experience, and it might not actually be anything demonic, but belief on that does not operate on court evidence. It operates on experience. And to the people that are involved, something happened. Whether that something was psychological, environmental, fabricated, or supernatural depends on where you stand. Decades later, the story would inspire the films of the Conjuring universe, including Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home. Hollywood redesigned her as a cracked porcelain doll because, let's be honest, a Raggedy Ann doesn't exactly scream demonic terror on the camera. But the real doll remains a soft, stitched toy. And maybe that's what makes it creepier, because it looks harmless. Here's what makes the Annabelle story stick. It isn't about the doll, per se. It's about permission, about vulnerability. The idea that something could slowly gain access by pretending to be the innocent. The Warrens believed that they had stopped something dangerous. Skeptics believe that they have built one of the most successful paranormal legends of the 20th century. Either way, the doll sits in its case. Quiet. Still. And depending on what you believe, waiting. Now, this story goes even further by, in recent events, having one of the handlers of the Annabelle doll while it was on tour apparently suffering a heart attack as well. Now, this one could just be a bad coincidence that is taking place for the loss of a life, but it also does feed into the legend. Now, this is one of those locations that we can go and visit, and this is one that I have researched before in the past. I don't know that I will ever actually go in and do an overnight investigation at the Annabelle location for one simple fact, and it has nothing to do with being scared. It has more so to do with being a content creator and being price gouged to go and visit these locations. There's a whole bunch of extra rules. There's a whole bunch of extra fees for being a content creator. And there's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily agree with. If those restrictions ever lift and it actually becomes somewhat normal again to be able to go and investigate this doll and the occult museum where it is housed, I will be more than happy to go there if that's what you guys would like. But thank you all so very much for watching this video. I do very much appreciate it. If you can, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if this would be something that you guys would want to see me do, or if you would ever find yourself brave enough to do yourself. I'd love to know whether or not that you believe that this whole Annabelle story is true or false. I find that a lot of these stories, they come from the 1960s, 1970s time frame when technology had not yet caught up with our own imaginations. So it'd be interesting to hear y'all's takes on this. But you guys are loved and valued. If you have not also signed up for my Patreon as well, please do. I take first accounts from over there to see what you guys would like for future videos, as well as opportunities for me to be able to travel around and do these paranormal investigations in person, or cryptid investigations in person. I would greatly appreciate it. But you guys are loved and valued, and I'll see you in the next video.